Guys, what is going on? How are you doing? I hope you're doing good. We are going to keep it moving, keep it booming with some ambient goodness. As you know, I really want to talk about and teach about the things that I enjoy the most, the things that I do most regularly, which is try to create relaxing, meditative, evolving sound textures, because that's kind of what they are, evolving sound textures. You know, does anyone want to listen to a sound that's like, boo? That's boring. But what if that same sound, boo? You know what I mean? Well, that was doing the pitch. I was making the pitch go up, and we'll do some of that too. Because drones. So, my definition of a drone is a continuous piece of sound. But a continuous piece of sound that is moving. It's evolving, you know? There's movement to it. It's somewhat hypnotic. Now, I think most of the times when you hear drone, it sort of applies more appropriately to a monophonic tone, which means mono, one. So like maybe it's an A note, right? And yes, there's all of this movement, but it's still the note of A. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. What was the and by the way, if you guys would like to support me, subscribe, like, turn on notifications, and also consider purchasing one of the NFTs. They are one of ones. It is my artwork on the thumbnails. I love that just as much as I love Ableton. So you would not only be supporting the continuation of this podcast, of this show, but you would also be owning a piece of history. You know, you own the original artwork that I put so much love and care into. You're the only one that would own that one. And also, you're supporting an artist. I would say, to be honest with you, Ableton was my first love. It really got me sound design, music production. It got me out of a tough place. I started about almost 10 years ago, to be precise, with Ableton. And then over the last 4 years, this computer graphics, 3D computer graphics art, just like, it's like my thing. So you would be helping me on so many levels and helping the content creation, creativity to keep coming. So here it is.
What's it like up there in outer space?
Welcome back. All right, so drones. Now I want to do the drones in analog. I opened up a MIDI track, of course, and I dropped an analog on here. And in fact, I'm actually going to I was about to go delete and then throw in a new analog, but I realized we may not have the same analog default settings. They'll be close, but if you want to follow along. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click this little button here. And when you click that, it allows you to search for a preset, but if you don't do that and you click return, or what is the button? Hold on. I'm used to like doing it in lockstep. Return. Oh no, it did do it. So see how so this is my default analog, and I'm just gonna click off this here. Yours might have oscillator 2 turned on. You can keep it on if you want, but I want oscillator 1 and 2 to be the same. Now, if you look at the waveform drop-down list, yours probably are saw waves. I have square waves because I just think, in my opinion, your opinion could be different. We all need some more love. Smash a like if you think everyone deserves a lot more love. So here's the thing. So oscillator 1, I want a waveform with a lot of harmonics, which is either going to be saw or square. We're not going to be doing white noise, even though we love that. And we're not going to be doing sine wave because there's no harmonics. So wouldn't that be a great place to start? Let's start with a spectrum. Yes, because we want to look at this. You know what I mean? I don't know about you guys. Maybe you guys are all about wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You know, you just want the goods. Aight, give me them juicy Ableton chops and sound design mastery. Get into it. Right, but this is like podcast tutorial, you know what I mean? We want to have fun and we want to rush into it, I was gonna say some other stuff, but I'm like, I don't want to take a chance it gets age restricted or something. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off oscillator 2. Right now, we want oscillator 1. And when we're in oscillator 1, see how it lights up? Now we're in filter 1, and now it lights up right here, and it shows something different down here in the display. Let's go to oscillator 1. I'm going to go to sine wave first because we are relearning and reassessing everything we know. So sine wave, let's hit a note and see what we got. And I'm going to come into here to this wonderful spectrum and click off max. Even though I like when it holds up here, I don't want that right now. Wonderful, wonderful. It's just one note. Now, if you're getting distracted by these other ones down here, their decibels right here are so low you're not hearing them. All it is just that. So we don't want that. Why? Because a filter, low-pass filter, it filters out the harmonics, right? So this note here is at 350 hertz. So if I take this, lower it, nothing happens because there's no other harmonics. Now something happens. Why did something happen? I thought you said the filter didn't do anything to a sine wave. Well, the filter just turns down the harmonics. And if there's no harmonics, once it gets to our fundamental right here, which is all you get with a sine wave, it just turns it down. So right now you're not getting filter modulation, although this filter is modulating it. All you're really getting is volume. See how this is going up and down over here on the left? That is the volume measured in dB. We would get the exact same thing if we went over here to this volume and did it. So just wanted to do that because I care about you guys and I want to sort of rebuild everything back in, because what's going to happen is eventually you're going to realize that when you know the fundamental things that happen to a sound in these synthesis techniques, right now we're in Ableton's analog, which is, say it with me, subtractive synthesis. Wonderful, wonderful. So yes, now if we go into white noise, which we're not going to use, we're going to get all of the frequencies, all of the harmonics, and it's going to be very loud, so we're going to turn on the filter. But we don't want that because it's not tonal. That's atonal. Atonal means there's no discernible pitch. Yeah, we all love that sound. So in speaking of white noise, and that's why I had the idea to do this. Why did I have the idea to do this? Here's why. Because I've been having so much fun going in, drawing in a note, making a very long thing, hitting legato, having a real long note, clicking play. I don't know why I'm sounding like Pearl Jam or bands from the 80s. Look at that, 888, 888. That means abundance. Look at that. How did we know that would happen? We didn't. We're doing magic right now. If you love the magic, if you like this show, the magicalness nature of this show, please consider supporting the channel in any way you can. I realize the NFTs are kind of pricey, but you want to know something? I realize most people can't afford them, but I know for the very small percentage that can, they will probably help the show because we are in a recession right now. And let's get back to the show. So I was thinking, I was like, I love this sound. This sound is just going to play. It's comfortable, and don't worry, we'll get to the drone. And I want some movement. Oh, extra nice. Extra nice. Okay, let's get that wonderful, juicy LFO on there. Oh, you know it, the depth is always too much. Take down the rate. You already knew we were doing that. Map it, get it to the frequency. And then I liked playing around with different things. And I thought, I love this because I can have this play forever. It's always going to be moving, and it's going to put me in a wonderful state of relaxation. And then I thought, what if we did the same thing? What if we did the same thing, but we did it with just a tone? Now, I know we've done this in some previous SDHOs, but I wanted to focus on drone. Now, as I've mentioned, we don't want sine wave because we don't just want, so we could play. That's fine. We could do something fun with that. But I want to do oscillator detune. Have you heard of oscillator detune, guys? Story time. So, oscillator detune. I believe it's most commonly referred to as oscillator drift. Now, we are in analog, which seeks to mimic the first ever widely available synthesizer ever, which was subtractive synthesis. And this was, so in the 60s, synthesizers exist, but they were like those really crazy large modular synthesizers. And unless you were in like one of the biggest name bands like the Beatles or someone in the 60s, you didn't have access to like a synthesizer because they were huge, super expensive. But what happened is in the 70s, I think with like one of the first Moogs, you could like actually get like an actual synthesizer that was somewhat affordable, somewhat portable, and they were all subtractive synthesizers. And so analog, because these were analog synthesizers, right now we're using these emulators. You know, these are software synthesizers or soft synths. Have you ever wondered why it was called soft synth? I remember in the early days I was like, I like soft synth because I just like that sound. Soft synth. It's because when you play the notes, they're really soft. And I was like, I don't know if that's and then I said, oh, software synthesizer, duh. So that's why it's called analog, because it wants to replicate an analog synthesizer. Now, going back to oscillator drift, and if you're liking this, subscribe and like it, because you know we're going deep. You know we are really learning, and we are going all over it, tooth and nail. We got it all. We got it all here, guys. You got it all. We got it all. Let's keep going. All right. Too much coffee today. All right, but it makes for a better tutorial. Okay, now let's go. So what would happen is we want to get that analog drift in our sound. Now, why was there an analog drift back in the day with these subtractive synthesizers? Well, because they weren't precise, coded, mathematical, digital algorithms in these soft synths, but they were actual electrical voltages. So if you were going to hold down an A note, it would start drifting out a little bit. You know, you would hear like a and when it moves like that, it sounds like normal. You know, it sounds so much better. So like listen to a saw wave with just a saw wave, and listen to how abrasive it is. It doesn't sound that good to us because it's just the same thing. Think about like an alarm or that goes off. That's awful. That's so awful. Well, it sounds better when you take some of these frequencies off. So here's what we're gonna do. We want something with a lot of harmonic content, okay? And we can either do that by square wave. See the harmonics? Saw wave, more harmonics. Depends what you like more. Can really get a lot. And then if you go to white noise, it's all of them. And if you go to saw, it's only the fundamental frequency. Choose saw or square if you want. I personally think the square sounds better, so I will do square. Now, if we come into the settings here, we don't have to change anything. Oh, and by the way, when you use square, you get to use pulse width modulation. If you go to saw, you no longer get pulse width modulation. That's not why I'm choosing square. I'm choosing square because I think it sounds better, but oh, good sweet lordy, you do need, if you want to have access to pulse width if you'd like it. So next we've got our filter. Envelope to velocity right here. You're only going to want a value. The value says if you hit quiet notes, the filter will respond less dramatically. It will be less pushed open. But 0 means we're going to get this amount every time, you know? So if I crank this up, the harder I hit it, the more it would open it up. But I'm not playing expressively. If I was playing like, you know what I mean? If every one of those notes was like the same filter amount, it would just be boring unless I had a filter envelope on it. But when you're playing those notes, you want it to sound like someone who's really playing keys, because like some keys they'll hit softer, some they'll hit harder, and you want the synthesizer through the volume, through the filter, you want it to to react dynamically, because then it sounds like it has life. But because we're just playing a note, or maybe multiple notes that just play, I want it to be at the same volume every time. So I just keep it there unless I'm playing like a patch that I want to like get down and start like, wonderful. Next up, amplifier. And by the way, envelope down here, I have that at 0 because I don't need to add an envelope amount from what I'm going to do with the sound, so I'm keeping it at 0. Also, I'm keeping the sustain all the way up. These things won't matter. Nothing matters here unless you have an envelope, and again, we're in the filter properties. But now for the amplifier, I just want it to sustain to be up because I want it to maintain its volume. Not that it matters, but I'll give it a little bit of a fade in just so when I launch the clip, it isn't just like, you know what I mean? So I'll just give a little bit of a fade in. Sustain, even though I said I want it all the way up because I want it to maintain a loud volume, I always bring it down as a force of habit, just a tiny bit, because when the volume reaches its full amount, I like it to then kind of just slightly drift down a little bit, just so it gives more of like an organic contour. You don't have to do it. Keep it up if you want. And then also, I always, even though this thing's just going to play forever, it's never going to just like not play, and then we hear the release. I just put it up because I just love release. Wonderful. We're on the volume. Amplifier, think volume. Envelope velocity, I'm putting that at 0 because I'm not going to be hitting multiple notes, so I just want the full volume all the time. And if I click a note, here's what we have. It is just going to be a square wave with this being cut out because we're on a low pass filter. Here we go. Let's take it down an octave. Now look at these harmonics. They're staying there. There's no movement. Now if we did this, we could filter, we could get movement. But that's not how I want to do it. I want to do oscillator detune. So turn on oscillator 2. Make sure you have the same one. So if you choose to saw, make sure you do saw down here. Because what we want to do is we want to have 2 identical oscillators. So that means we want to take this down a little bit. So when we play this, they are oscillator 1 is being fed into filter. Oscillator 2, you can see it down here, filter 1, is being fed into filter 1. And then the filter is adding or subtracting frequencies, hence subtractive synthesis. Why subtractive synthesis and not addition synthesis? Well, because the goal is you start with a bright waveform, and then you use that to subtract. And most of the time you're adding. Now, of course, most of the time you're subtracting. Now, of course, you can do, you know what I mean? That's what's called a filter sweep. So anyways, back to the fun. So then the filter does its magic, and then it pushes it to the volume. Because if there's no volume, you won't hear anything. So if we hit a note and we turn amp off, you're not getting anything. So that has to be on, of course. It then amplifies the sound. And then you can add some LFOs, which will work on different functionalities. And then we've got these tools. Now, because I'm going to click play, I found when I adjust the unison, it actually stops the playing. I want to click play and just have it play. So I'm going to turn both of these on. I don't think it matters with vibrato. Like I can turn on vibrato and tweak it while it's playing and it won't stop the thing, but it does for unison. But I'm going to keep them at 0 and I'm going to add them when it plays. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn off oscillator 2 and I'm going to play a note. And then I'm going to turn on oscillator 2 and you're going to hear that it's the same, the exact same thing. And exactly as it should. It'll be louder. All we're doing is adding more volume because these are both identical. So take a bloody listen. Oscillator 2 off. Now these should go higher when I enact it, but all it is just volume. It's just volume. And notice how it's still all of these right here. But now let's have fun. Let's click play, and I'll show you the oscillator drift. Now, it sounds different because I'm playing a lower frequency. Now look at this detune. We're taking 2 identical oscillators and we're taking one of them and we're moving it. And as we move it slightly, Well, we're not really, well, we are moving it in a sense because we are detuning it, so we're making one like slightly longer. But watch what happens and then listen to the sound and pick the sound that's most satisfying for you. Don't just do the settings I did. I clicked it a little bit. It still says 0, but you can actually fine tune it. If you drag and hold shift while you drag, hear it, listen, use your ears. And now look at how these are moving. Oh, my little babies, they're moving. They're coming alive. I am a sound scientist. I create the sounds in the lab. I want more control. I want more control. By the way, let's now let's go back down. Let's click on analog and let's do Command G to group it. It stopped our drone. How dare they? How dare they? But at least it didn't stop this. Even if it did, we'd be okay. Command Option I to close that panel, and let's get back into this rack. Now, why do we do that? Because we wanted these macros. Okay, so let's go to detune up here. Right click, map to macro 1. Now let's click map here and let's set it. Because I want the minimum to be 0 and I want the maximum to be something devilish, like, I guess 0.03. And let's see if this did what I wanted to do. Let's click play. Because I want to be able to see it. So 0. See? Oh, did you know about this? 0.05. Because yes, I can hover over this and make the adjustments, but just take a listen. Let's put it at 0 first. Boring. Now listen, see, automatically you can already hear a little bit of a change, and it says 0, right? What sounds better to you? Does 0.05 sound better to you? Ideally, I don't want the fundamental to go down so low, but it's really what sounds good to you. That's the most important thing. If I can teach you one thing, it's that you gotta use your ears and choose what makes best for you. So what can we do now? Let's play the frequency. The resonance gives a lot of extra character in these analog synthesizers. But we want some movement. Let's grab our good best friend LFO. Because when things are going tough, you can always rely on the LFO. It'll save you. It'll save your marriage, quite possibly. Yeah, smush like if LFO or analog saved your marriage. Just this little bit of movement. Because now we got this little bit of movement. A little bit too much. Well, let's see how high it goes. When does it stop? That's a little bit too much for my likings. Let's take the depth down to... Although this sounds a little more interesting. Let's see what we like with a little bit of jitter. Jitta. Can you imagine we're like all in this like recording studio together, and I'm like, we could probably do this when I start broadcasting these live. Be like, what do we need? And someone's just like, jitta. I'm like, too much jitta. Let's click the multi-map button. Let's get it on the resonance. Oh no, turn it down, turn it down, turn it down, turn it down, turn it down. Oh, look at all those frequencies. They're going crazy. Let's give it some vibrato. Too much, too much, too much. Tick down the rate. Give it some unison. Too much, don't freak it out. Oh, and look here. When we're in this volume tab, there's an error percentage. The error percentage makes it act extra analog synthesizer, like doing weird stuff. It's very subtle. It actually detunes it while it does that. It like gives some of that analog drift. We can map other things to this. In fact, we could actually add some to this. So I thought this was kind of cool. Let's enact the LFO and see what happens if we come into here. I like the 0.9 rate, and let's give it some pulse width modulation. Go to the LFO, you gotta assign it. Let's map this, the pulse width amount. Yeah, I don't really like, why is it, no, not liking it, not liking it. It's freaking out a little bit. Okay, let's take it off. Let's take this off, and now let's map it. Okay, take this up. Wonderful. We could also do that down here, but that's not a big deal. See these semitones? See these semitones down here? After the octave, which would be 12 up or 12 down, the next pleasing is 7 up for the perfect fifth. Hit him with that perfect fifth. See, like, I just want to hear things like this. Like, it's so weird. I spent so much time, like, trying to figure out all the musical scales, and, you know, I was playing the keys, and I was playing the guitar and the bass, and I was like, I gotta know about chord progressions, and it's all I cared about for like 3 years while I was still doing Ableton. And then now, maybe just because we're always changing, shout out, big ups yourself if you are always changing. Now I'm like, dude, I don't care at all about that. Like, all I want to do is just make drones and like meditative music. Why? You know what they say? I've heard it said that with music we play life. And what is my life? Or I mean, because we're always in a stage of becoming. So what is your life? And how is your life becoming? And I'll be honest with you, all I really want is to be in a state of meditation all the time. So wouldn't it make sense that like I would be trying to make meditative music rather than music? It's like, you know what I mean? And that music is good too, but it's just not my thing right now. Hope you're enjoying this. And we still got more to go. We can throw in another filter. Oh, and then we won't hear anything until we activate amplifier 2. Oh, that's extra volume. Let's do some notch. Now watch right here. Oscillator 1, see this F1, oscillator 1, it says all of it goes to filter 1. It says oscillator 2, all of it goes to filter 1, and then filter 1 goes to amp 1, but then filter 1 goes to filter 2, which goes to amp 2, and then we hear that 0, it's not supposed to be up like that. But we can take this oscillator 2 and start routing more of it directly to hear it. We're going to be going right to filter 2, and because it's a notch allows all of the lows, all of the highs, but then it notches out. So when you hear that, you know, you know what you're hearing. Let's route this. Let's route him. I'm going to make this thing lower. Let's go in here. Let's take the rate down. The depth down, smooth it. Let's get some of that resonance on the... I should have done a different LFO. I'm just being kind of lazy because I want like different settings. You can kind of tweak them with the minimum and maximum values over here. By the way, all of this wonderful sound we're hearing, there's no audio effects. This is just knowing how to use subtractive synthesis. That's why you guys love this channel, because you know I'm giving you the love. I love this thing. And we are actually learning something. We are actually learning something. We're learning the history. We're learning the, listen to all the changes. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. What should we add if we were to add an effect? If you guessed chorus, just take the rest of the day off. I give you permission. Ready? Drops the rate. Low cut. You're wonderful. Take off the dry. Dry what? Bring it up till you like it. Bring it up till you like it. Too much. Let's always be A and B. Tweak those damn knobs. Tweak them. Tweak them. They're there to be tweaked. No one's going to yell at you and tell you you're doing it wrong. Just tweak it to how you like it. Drop it here. Wonderful, wonderful. We could oscillate this dumbass thing. Hey, let's do something crazy. I almost don't want to do anything crazy. I was going to see what it sounds like with saw waves, but this sounds too good. Let's do saw waves. And that's what's great. This can just play. It'll play forever. Let's see if it even looped yet. Look, it's gonna loop. Let's do this so we can see what it sounds like when it fades out. Otherwise, if we just take it all the way to the end, let's see. Hold on, we gotta go into here. All we gotta do is go to here and here. Okay, Shift tab to get back. Let's see what happens. Let's see what the release sounds like. Gotta keep it playing. Extended. Actually, legato. Write a comment of love. Write a comment of love. We're doing this. And by the way, we're gonna keep going. You wanna know why? Because now we're gonna do that same old damn thing with operator. Someone's like, oh my God, I did not think that the gods could be so good to us. My prayers have been answered. I said, oh please, just do the same darn thing with the operator. Boy, I hope no one watches this one. I got a little too crazy. And I'm not even drinking any beer either. I'm just pretty high on life and a bit over caffeinated. I don't even need caffeine. It's just kind of got a little bit of an addictive personality if you couldn't tell. I'll be honest, it's a gift and a curse. You know, if I didn't have an addictive personality, I wouldn't be like driving around in my car thinking about like, why can't I figure out how to use analog? You know? And then I'm like, okay, well, it's like that. And then, God, why does everyone teach it so awfully? You know? And I was like thinking about that like for so many years, and I knew there was an easier way to figure it out, and I figured it out, and I'm teaching it with you guys. So if you're loving it, smash a like. And now let's go with operators. So literally, I am just going to, because I'm lazy, I'm going to hold Option, holding Option down and Option drag. Let's give it the appropriate color. And now let's do the exact same thing. Make sure we are record enabled here. Make sure we are on the operator track. I'm gonna come into here and I'm gonna use my new favorite routing algorithm, this guy, which says A, you hear A, you hear B, you hear C, but D will modulate C, which you will hear. That's that. Let's go into A and let's click play. I'm gonna drag it down here. Let's click play. Now what do we have? If you said, hey, I like the tone. take down the frequency. That's weird. Why is it doing that? Oh, you want to know why? Because I've got this filter drive. That must be enacting it. But this is just a sine wave. But what happens if we need to get our square 64? Okay. Now, if you click on oscillator B and you go into envelope and you right click and you do copy from oscillator A, let's take the total volume down and let's give it some fine tune. See, I don't want it to drop out like that. So first of all, I'm going to turn this off on clean. See if it still does that. Okay, so let's turn this shift fine tune down to 1. I don't like that it's cutting out like that. I don't want that to happen. So let's check this out here. I'm gonna stop this and I'm gonna relaunch it. I'm gonna see if it's still doing that, because that's not what I want. I want it to say, I don't want the volume to drop like that, so I'm restarting it. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do that same thing, Command G, because we want the macro, and we're gonna go and we are gonna map this to macro 1. And I'm gonna go to the map range, and I want a minimum of 0, and I want a maximum of, I don't know, 7. Undo the map. And so instead of trying to putz around with this fine tune, now we can, yay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Launch it. Wow, that's so weird. Why is it dropping out like that? Very disappointed. Maybe operator's not good for this drift. Let's try something different. Fixed. And return to default. Nope. Go here, unmap. And then you can click, ungroup, fixed. I like 100 Hertz. That's what we were doing. Actually, we will go back and we will map, or do that again, and we will map this frequency to macro 1, open up ZMAP. What's the minimum? I'll go 100. What is the maximum? I'll go 111. Wonderful. Turn off the map, turn it down. Let's click play, and let's see if this allows us to get the magical detune, because I've done it before. I've done it before in Operator. Now, I knew analog would be the best for this example, and we haven't done analog in a while, so I got extra excited to make this Sound Design Hangout podcast. Is it a podcast? Do I even need to say that? I don't know. I'm not about the technicalities. But let's see if it works. Because oftentimes, when you want a thing to happen and it doesn't happen, I start crying and pouting, but that's not what you want to do. That's happening for your own greatest good, because now I'm like, well, what if I did this? And see, that's how you grow. That's how you expand. Let's click play. Let's get... Now let's start adding... Weird. That's it. All right, the operator gods are clearly wanting me to go deeper here. I'm gonna hit a note. That's too loud. It's hurting my ears. I'll clean it up in post. Okay, let's see. Oh, they've made a big mistake. You know what? Let's go to saw instead. And I'm going to try to drag this fine tune very lightly. I don't know why that happened. Let's take it down, transpose it down. Ooh, it's doing what we want. And it's even on fine 3. I wonder why the, what's it called, was doing that. Let's get some filter drive on this bad boy. See if that does anything. Let's click play. Now here's why we did it in an operator, because right now we're doing it in a subtractive synthesis fashion, just like we did with analog, which is you take two oscillators, same waveform, and you slightly drift out the pitch of the second one. But if we come into algorithm and we click on this, we're gonna get the same thing, but instead of it being oscillator drift with subtractive synthesis, it is oscillator drift with ZFM synthesis, which stands for frequency modulation synthesis. And while it's playing, all you gotta do is come over here to this algorithm, and just with one click, it'll all change. Lower the level of B. Take it down. Look how they're not moving. Slowly bring it up. Slowly bring it up. Stop when it feels good. Keep it going, and then it sounds bad. Bring it back. Got it. That's what you always want to be doing. Pay attention to this fundamental here. If it sounds like crap, it's probably because it got so low that you're just hearing these top ones. That's why it sounded bad when we were up here. That just gave me a good idea. Thanks for the good idea. It was you guys, it wasn't me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. ZLFO. Map. Take the depth and the rate down because it's always too damn high. I should just make that a preset. Give it to this. It's too damn fast. Give it some spread. That won't take effect unless we stop it and then replay it, so forget about it. Gita. Let's group it again. If you group it, it stops the thing. Kind of lame. I want to set these things up so it never stops. I just want it to always be playing, but yeah, you gotta roll with the punches a little bit too. Ableton dishing out life lessons. Hey, it's Ableton. I just want to let you know you gotta roll the punches sometime and be kinder to yourself and others. Okay, God bless. Yay! 500 hertz. So now it's not going to go above that. So now we'll take the LFO map. Wonderful. Okay, all right. How high is it going to go? Is it going to go too high? I'm okay. Yeah, that's kind of all right. Some guitar. Let's play with, see if this time does anything. Yeah, I don't really care. Now let's go back to here. Whatever floats your boat. Let's do a phaser flanger. Oh, I wasn't gonna do chorus because I had a feeling this would do it. This might treat this sound better, and it sounds wonderful. And then I just remembered how to close this damn podcast, this hangout. Audio track, input output channel expose, resampling, record enable, hit me with that record, double click to see it or push shift tab. Wonderful, wonderful. It looks so pretty. I don't know, that's satisfying. Like seeing that and being like, oh, I've got this like juicy, nice audio form now that I can, ooh, that sounded nice. Click stop, but not stop here, so we get a trail. Oh, that was too abrupt. That means I didn't have much of a release. Well, you win some, you lose some. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Why did I do that? Insert MIDI track. If you guessed sampler, you are a very intuitive person. Drag it here. Take this in here. We're gonna want a sustain mode. Yes, of course, you knew it. Let's... Now, guys, you gotta know this. When you're about to do this, the sound that we recorded just now, we want to hear that sound the way it sounded. How do you do that? Simple. Open up this sampler and go to C3. You're done. And if you play a D, that means you play the same thing up to semitones. Let's legato it again. And let's click play. And let's see what we can do with that source audio. This is something you can always do. Very creative, very next level, sampling. Let's go. Click play now. Now, I want to take in this loop, but I want to know where this thing starts. Is it going to start here? I always forget. Okay, good. I want it to start here, and then I want there to be this like looper part. Okay, now where's loop end? Okay, I want there to be, then I want to get some of the crossfade. Okay, let's maybe move it here. Hopefully it will sound really good when it gets to the end, like you won't be able to hear that it clicks over. This sustain mode, in order to loop, it has to be here or here. This one says play this way. When you get to the end of the loop, start it here. This one says play it all the way and then reverse it back, which can have really good sounds. But because this thing... No, I wasn't supposed to do that. Let's see what happens when I go... Yeah, no. So we gotta take this and bring it in. Got it. I wish we could go to the end here. That would be nice. Filter global. We got that, of course. Let's go into the circuit and let's give it some drive. The volume got quieter from before. Sounds good. Let's go back to sample. Now let's listen. Let's see if it does what we want. Is it gonna do it? Is it gonna do it? Give me a good loop. Give me a good loop. Wonderful. It's supposed to play the loop there. That's kind of a loop start. That's weird, you know what I mean? Like, this is the loop start, this is the loop. You have to have these two right here, and then it'll click over, but maybe maybe it plays right here, because you know what I mean? Like, there's no point to have a loop if it's gonna play back here, because when we start the clip, it's gonna start here, right? But sometimes you actually have to stop the playing clip in order to get it to respond to these new prompts. Not everything updates in real time, but let's see. Actually, no, it did do it right. Why? Because it starts here at the crossfade. So we're crossfading in and out, so we got that good loop. Now we can start doing some really good goodness. Now, here's a few things. We can put another filter frequency on here, but we're kind of already doing that, so why don't we get like a good old notch? So then we can get this sound baked in. Let's go to a slope of 12. No, slope of 24, because I want a bigger... Nah, I'm not really giving two craps about that. Let's go back here. Ooh, maybe that's what we need with this high resonance. Put on a filter drive, because it allows you to get extra interesting sounds with the resonance. Let's go into modulation, turn on LFO 1, turn it off retrig, and give some to filter. Oh, is it not going to do it in real time? Yeah, see, check this out. So if I click stop, you're gonna hear it going whoop, 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 very crazy now. Turn down the filter mode. Now, how would you get jitter? There's no jitter button. You wanna know what you do? You turn on another LFO, you go, we wanna modulate LFO 1's rate. And that's given some jitter. It's hard to hear it, but you don't want it to be that obvious. Or you could just throw the LFO and just forget this. Nah, it's doing it, but it's very subtle. But I don't like that. I would rather just go into LFO and then map this to this. Yeah. And then we get the jitter. Too fast of a rate, I think. What else should we do? Well, to be honest, I mean, if you didn't know this existed, you could turn on some oscillator and give it some LFO. You have to turn up the volume, or excuse me, give it some FM. You can't hear it because you have to like start it and stop it, and then you'll get it. Some of these things, they'll change while it's playing. Other things, you'll have to like start it over. Now listen how different this is. Kind of weird, huh? Well, that's there if you want it. Here's one way to like really change it. Once you already have a very interesting sound, and how would we do this? Why don't we click play on that other one and just see what's up? So this was the original one. So let's turn it to the left. Let's turn this to the right. They're slightly different, so you can get more stereo spread. But let's not do that. What I was saying earlier, you put a delay. And it allows you to change anything very drastically. I like to go with the 3 and the 2. That happened because I have it on repitch. Jack this feedback up. Now be careful because the volume can get crazy. Might have to turn the dry wet up a lot. Take this rate down, we can add extra modulation. You'll see it'll start getting louder. I'm surprised it hasn't gone haywire. Let's go to this one. Yeah, that's this repitch. It does that when you change it. Let's turn it off sync. Ooh. Get it very short. Oh, that was really insane. Pretty crazy, crazy. By the way, I'm doing shift while I slide it down. And that was good. Love you guys. Hope everything's going well. We're about to be at the winter solstice. Actually, that probably is different. I really like this. Ooh.